Well, it says we're live.
Okay, we're live. Hi, everybody.
So we must be live. Hello, everyone. If everyone can see and hear us, because we know there's a delay, and we always sit here and go, oh, nobody's watching us.
No, there's nobody watching. Shall we just go and watch the TV?
Cheers, everyone. So somebody comment if you
Lisa.
can. Any? Hi, Lisa, all the way from the United States of America.
Yeah.
There we go. We have an international viewer tonight. Good evening, Woofstockers from Karen. Good evening, Karen. Thank you so much for monitoring the comments. If you've got any questions, be sure to put them in the comments. We see them coming up, and then we can pop the questions up if they're suitable, because we know what you lot are like, and literally ask them of Karen while she is live with us. She's sat backstage sipping cranberry juice, I think, or Ribena. I reckon it's just vodka or something like that disguised in some kind of juice bottle. Good evening, Wilford. Good evening, Lisa, as well. So,
Hi, Wilford.
My hair, my everything.
I got no, we can't blame. We can't blame lockdown now.
Lockdown anymore. There we go. Okay. Thanks. So tonight, a week ago, we had the absolute pleasure of speaking to a lady called Karen Corbett, who is an animal communicator. And we spent the best part of an hour completely fascinated with what Karen was telling us and some of the animals that she's communicated with and the stories behind them. And it was fascinating, wasn't it? It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And like most people out there, some people are quite skeptical about it and go, yeah, you know, talk to the animals, all that jazz. But you watching, people who are watching tonight, if you're even that much skeptical or even that much skeptical about it, you're going to leave this interview tonight and go, wow, that is amazing. So Karen communicates with animals, so horses, dogs, cats. Are cats really aloof? What do dogs really think? And we just wanted to know more and share this incredible talent that she has with all of you. So without further ado, Karen's stripped. She must be getting hot in the background there. So we're going to bring Karen Corbett on to have a chat about what she does and says and what the animals say to her. So here we go. Welcome, hello. Karen.
Hello again.
Hello again. How are you?
Yeah, fine. And you guys?
Yeah, we're good. As I said to you before when we were talking before we went live, we spent probably the best part of an hour last week talking to you, and we were completely blown away. And even when, you know, we'll go into it a bit more detail. So even when you were saying, you know, talk to your dogs, talk, they understand far more than we all realise. Sometimes they go a bit deaf, obviously, but they can hear us, but they just choose to ignore what we say.
I think that will make a lot of us happy because we do talk to our dogs. And how many people go, don't know why I'm saying that, they don't understand. And I've always said, they do. And we've got proof. They do.
But thank you so much for coming on a Wednesday evening to chat to us and everybody who's watching. We've already got comments saying you're amazing. Pete, I know. Rabbits as well. You speak to rabbits. Somebody's saying rabbits. I'm literally looking at the comments. People are already saying you're an amazing lady. You're so good.
Cost me a
fortune.
So how much are you paying them?
A lot of money.
A lot of money. Kath Chapman, she's been to see my animals a few times. She's an amazing woman. So you literally have
I'm
got.
not supposed to write these down to pay them afterwards.
Yeah, we'll message you afterwards and give you the names and what you owe each of them. So you have had this talent from, I guess, when you were born. So it's a gift, really.
When I was in my 20s, like I said, it's something I've always known that I've been able to do, but it wasn't till I was probably into my 20s when my mum just turned around to me and she just said, "Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't tell you." She said, "Your Uncle Charlie could do it, and he died the day you were born." And then it all just slotted into place. So it just makes sense. Apparently people used to just take animals round to his farm, and obviously this would have been back in the 70s. So 60s, 70s. So people used to just turn up with animals and he would miraculously, they'd go and pick them up a week later fixed or certainly better or whatever. So it made a lot more sense then once I knew the history of it.
Did it ever, so I guess you've had this gift from such a young age that it was just the norm, for want of a better phrase. You didn't think twice about it, I guess that.
No, it's like when we talked about it, I think the first time I probably it was obviously pointed out to me was when I was with that little mare in a field, and they were saying they didn't know why she was lame, and I had my hand on her leg and I was saying, "Well, can't you feel the leg?" And she's going, well, no, what's wrong with the leg? I said, "Well, there's heat in the leg, she's twisted it." I said, "She's just shown me how she twisted it going down the field." And I was just like, can you not feel the heat in the leg? And they go, "No." And then you sort of think, oh right, okay, well that's weird. And then the fact that she'd sort of explained that she'd twisted it as well, so it's it just made me think then, well, that's a bit weird that I can see that but they can't.
Yeah, so you're just kind of like, oh, and got on with your day, I guess. So
well, when you have, like I say, I used to be involved with horses from quite an early age. We never really had pets as such. I think we had a dog for a little while, but I wasn't really involved with it. But it was, I would always end up with the horses that nobody could do anything with, and I would just work with them. It was never seemed to be any effort. You would just seem to like, I would always get the horses that wouldn't load, that would bolt, that would do all sorts of things, and it was always just a case of, well, the reason they run up the side of they've had a bad experience in the trailer, they've been, and you would be out riding and they would just explain to you that the reason they don't like tractors is that they've had, as far as they're concerned, they've seen a tractor with like the spikes on coming down the side of the field, and they just thought it was a dragon about to eat them, So it's like when you can then understand why a horse sort of thinks, shit, what the hell is that? And it's actually a dragon coming to eat them, where that makes you understand why next time you see a tractor, you actually pull in, give the horse a chance to see it and turn him slightly away from it, so that he's he's curved away from it and he's not looking at it, and you're not asking him to go and confront it. You're actually just saying, move to the side and it'll go past, So it's one of those things, it's quite logical. And when you said earlier about talking to animals and how they do it, it's more of an intuition. It's the way that you communicate with animals, and what we're talking about with like talking to your dogs and stuff. That the thing I'm always saying to people is, it's not the words they're understanding, it's the images in your head. So it's like, I don't know, say you've got a big dog coming towards you in the road, and if you can just put the image in your head that you're going to go and move your dog to the side and away from him, the dog will pick up the pictures that you're going to move him away. It's not the fact that there's a big dog. You're saying that there's a big dog. You're saying, right, that dog's coming. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move you to the side. And the fact that you vocalized it, you'll have an image in your head, whether you want it or not. You can't say something without thinking about it. And that's what the dog will pick up on quicker. And that's how they all communicate with each other. It's all sort of telepathic. But us humans are so useless. We've got so... well, we rely so much on words, don't we?
Yeah.
That actually the reason I say to people, speak it out loud, is because it'll help you focus, because otherwise our heads are just mush. We can have 10 different things going on in our heads, and the animals can't keep up with us flitting around from one thing to another.
Yeah, I mean, that's you described it to us last week exactly the same way, and you said to me and Carol, if you said to us there was a big yellow truck or whatever, and it's got a tow bar on the back of it and there's a car attached to it, we immediately put that image into our head. And I guess it's the same when, you know, I've done it probably for the past week. I've been very conscious of when I've been talking to the dogs of putting the image into my head, instead of just spouting out words and them going, you
But
know.
sometimes you can jabber on and not be thinking about what you're actually saying, and that's where the confusion starts. But I saw a little pony last night, and they wanted to know why this pony didn't like big horses. And I've never had it described to me quite the way that he described it. And I was trying to put it into words to explain it to the owner. And so that where this little pony is, they have Shire horses, which are great big horses. You know, they can be 18, 19 hands. And so this pony's about 13 hands or something. And the way that she described it is that because they're flight animals, that their eyes focus on the risk, on the danger ahead, so to speak. And what it seems to do with her is it seems to pinpoint her vision. And what it goes two-dimensional. So what she described it as is that it's like having a cardboard cutout. You can't tell if that cardboard cutout is a small cardboard cutout close to you or it's a very big one further away, because her eyes are not focusing as to pinpoint exactly where it is. And it was like, I thought, my God, that's an amazing way of describing that. She can't picture from just what she's looking at exactly how far away it is, whether it's a big horse that's actually suddenly going to appear and be right over the top of her, or whether it's actually a little pony that's actually really close to her. But I've never had a horse describe this two-dimensional vision. It was really interesting. She was a really clever little mare.
Incredible. We've got Julia Lund.
Ah, yes.
Get Karen to tell you about the pictures of eating a frog that my cat Percy sent her.
Oh, it was gross. It was. The trouble is that they all. So the way that they describe stuff to me, it's either they'll either give you an image or you can feel it. Or you can see things. And the way that he did it, he just bit into this frog, and it was just the taste. It wasn't anything like he was expecting it to be, and it was vile. And that's why, you know, he got ill from eating this frog or something. Julia's got a funny story actually with her other one was the funniest. Well, it was Ash as well, same cat, but all her other cats were bringing in live mice and all the rest of it. And Ash was quite a retired old gent. He was about, I don't know, 14 or something, 15, whatever. And so to keep up with the young kittens that had just come in, the young cats that were bringing in all these new things, he brought in this, I think it was a rabbit one day. And I said to him, was that actually roadkill? Did you actually kill it yourself? And he actually owned up and said, no, I did actually just bring it in. It was sick when it came in, you know, and we're just like, right, okay, you're just keeping up with the competition, so you just brought roadkill in.
And are cats quite aloof?
Yeah, they are. Cats are really funny. They're so different to talking to dogs. Cats, if there's something in it for them, they're great. And to be fair, there usually is. But it's like, compared to speaking to dogs and stuff, dogs are sort of in your face, and they, you know, whereas cats are like, right, what's in this for me? And then you negotiate with cats a lot more than you do with dogs. There has to be something in it for them. But, you know, they are funny. I mean, here's a classic example. My other half came up unannounced on Friday, and I've got two cats, and they're brothers, and they're about 2 years old now. And my other half lives in Cornwall, and he's surrounded by fields. So I have one cat, Salem, a little black one, who loves the open fields. And so he loves it down at Pete's. Jack is my little tabby. He has a girlfriend up here in Devon. So he prefers it up here. So we end up with this scenario, whereas we move, you know, they go up and down depending on where I am. So obviously Salem, they've been up here for about 3 weeks now, and Salem was, you know, he'll cover 10 miles in a day. He's got a tracker on, because he will cover 10 miles in a day, and obviously on farmland it's really quick to do. So anyway, Pete said to me, I think it was probably Saturday, he said, am I taking the cats back with me? So I said to Salem, well, I presume you want to go. And Salem's like, oh yeah, I'm going back down to Cornwall. And Jack was just very much, you know, he would rather be here with his girlfriend. But we got to Sunday morning, I went out to do some horses, and Pete was painting in the house. And bearing in mind, those two cats usually disappear for the day. And Salem and Jack were never within more than probably about 100, 200 yards away all day. Even Jack got into one of the cages, and Jack doesn't travel particularly well. And because they knew that he was going to go, and I hadn't planned on him taking Jack as well. I was going to take Jack, but Jack just turned around and said, well, I'm not going without him, and got in the cage. And it was like, right, okay, it looks like you're taking both of them now. And then that afternoon, he got down there about 2 o'clock, and Salem had done 4 miles in that afternoon. Just as soon as he got back, he was off, gone. But it's like, but that's 2 cats that disappear all day. I don't see them day in, day out, you know, I don't see them all day. They come in the evening. And because they knew that Pete was going, and Salem, we always say to Salem, you have to stay close if you want to go. Because one day it all started because I said to Salem one day, well, Pete's come up on the train. If you want to go home with him, I said, you're gonna have to go on a train. And I said, well, look, if you want to go, when it gets dark, you need to be home. And so we came back from wherever we were about 4 o'clock. It was in the winter, and Salem was on the windowsill, and I'm just like, oh my God, you really want to go? And he said, the thing he said, will there be straight lines? Because Salem doesn't like the corners in a car. He doesn't like it when they're in the corner. And we were killing ourselves, because I said, well, no, I said, there'll be turns going there and back. It will be a longer trip. And do you know what? He never made it. He was, what was it, a 3-hour train trip or something? Do you know what? He never made a sound. All the time he was there, he never made a sound. And he just travelled all the way down to Cornwall literally in a little cage.
He was desperate to get down to those fields, bless him, wasn't he?
Yeah.
There's a few questions coming in. We'll get to them in a minute. I don't know if you're allowed to tell us the story, but you told us a story about a Ginger Tom.
Oh yeah.
Which kind of like shows, I guess, what cats can really be like. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, I went to see a little ginger Tom. Well, I suppose it's quite a big ginger Tom, quite local to me here, and it was one of the strangest meetings I'd had, because the cat was so cross that he was shut in the front room with me and obviously the owner. And I said to the owner, you know, what sort of problems are you having? And she said, oh, he's so nasty to me. And this is an elderly lady, and she showed me the claw marks on her legs and on her side, because he would actually claw her to get off the chair so he could sit on the chair. And I was really upset with this cat, because I sort of said to him, you have no idea how lucky you are to be in this situation. But she was saying that even if she walked down the garden, the cat would run behind her and just jump on her and claw her. And so I literally, this cat, all the time I was talking to this cat, he was just sat with his back to me looking out. She had like a glass panelled window, and she was just looking, the cat was just looking out of the bottom of the window. Cat never looked at me once. I was there for probably, about an hour. And the cat never acknowledged me, never spoke to me or anything. And I just basically said to the cat, look, you know, she can't cope with you like this. You can't be like this. You can't expect to be like this. The only place you're going to go with, you're going to end up on a farm. You'll end up being, you know, a ratter on a farm or something, because nobody's going to want you if you're this nasty. And so anyway, I felt really bad. I just sort of lied. I said, I don't think I've got through to him at all. I said, I don't know. I said, but he's not even acknowledging me. And I went home, and 2 weeks later I had a phone call from her. She said, what have you done to my cat? And I thought, what's happened? And she said, what have you done to my cat? She said, I can't recognize him. She said he's never tried to push me off the seat. He's never clawed me since. She said he now comes and rubs my legs instead of clawing my legs. She said, I can't believe it's the same cat. And that was a conversation, as far as I was concerned. Talk about a one-way conversation. that I had no idea that cat was taken on board exactly what I said. No idea.
It's incredible. It's just like Mark Humphreys has a question. How long does it take to communicate for the first time with an animal?
Depends how pushy they are. They don't talk to me unless I talk to them. So if I'm walking down the street, if I'm following a dog, as long as I don't talk to the dog, it doesn't know I can talk to it. But I mean, I did a horse a couple of weeks ago, and I mean, I do other horses on the yard, so she knows. And I couldn't even get the paperwork filled in. I was trying to fill in paperwork, and she was literally like, "No, I've got to tell you, I've got to tell you." And I always feel sorry for them because it's like they can't make a list of things, you know, to remember. I mean, one of the horses I went to see last night said to me, I've got 4 things I need to tell you. I've seen it before, but it said, I've got 4 things I need to tell you. And I said, right, okay, tell me what they are and we'll write them down. Then you can relax, because this horse was getting really agitated. I said, just tell me and watch me write them down. And I'll promise I won't go without you saying your piece, sort of thing. So I have a self-discipline thing that I touch the animals and I sort of give them the go ahead that they can do it then, because I mean, that mare was she was in quite a lot of pain. So that was a different case, but yeah, they've got to give you time to get in the door, if you know what I mean. And then I usually do it that I like to lay my hands on them. And once I've done that, but I mean, to be fair, as soon as I look at them, I can usually start talking to them. But I do try and limit it to getting the paperwork done and then putting my hands on them before they let loose.
And you've been
them up is the problem.
and you've been tested before, haven't you? You were telling us that you've been tested by a horse.
Oh, the animals will test me. Yeah, I get that. I get tested by more animals or more humans? No, probably more humans and more animals. Gorgeous little Dartmoor. She'll know who I'm talking about because I always tell this story. She's actually she works in the vets anyway. And I got to her stable. I've never met her before. And I got to her stables and I got in through the door and her horse just told me to go and sit in the corner of the stable. And I'm just like, what? And he said, go and sit in the corner of the stable. And I was just like, really? And then this woman's looking at me and I'm just sort of like, I'm really sorry. He's just asked me to go and sit in the corner of the stable. Just bear with me. They do this sometimes. And I just went and sat in the corner of the stables and he just came over, put his head in my arms and went, oh my God, nobody ever listens to me. And it was it. I couldn't shut him up then. And I've done loads of work with him. He's such an amazing little chap. But they had other communicators out and said that they'd never been able to get anything out of him. And I think he was just one of these that just really wanted to know if I would do what he wanted me to and say what what he wanted to say. And it was a bit of an eye-opener because I mean, one thing I am loyal to is I will tell them what they might say something and I may say, that's a bit tough. You really want me to tell the owners that? And I'll actually say to them, can I word it slightly differently? Because that's quite blunt. And sometimes they'll go, nope, say it like that. And you're like, oh, shit. And it can be really brutal what they say. I mean, you think more so with horses than dogs because you're riding them, you're putting bits in their mouth, you're putting saddles on them, you're putting rugs on them. But sometimes it can be quite brutal. But I always stay loyal to them. I don't think I've ever changed something without their permission. I did once, and then I got told to just repeat what I told it and have on. So I'm not getting away with that. But
I guess it's their opportunity to be heard.
Exactly.
So you staying loyal to them is quite important.
I do.
Communicating what they want to say.
Yeah, you do feel sometimes. I mean, I always say I'm there for them. And people always say they're terrified of what the horse is going to say about them. But I always say, well, the fact that you care enough to get me out, it's not going to be something we can't fix.
And that's the thing, most people would probably say, well, I don't know if I want to know what my dog or cat or rabbit or guinea pig has to say about me. But as you said to us last week, the very fact that people have got you there, it means they care enough. I've got a question from Rob Cook. So Rob has just adopted a beautiful Springer Spaniel called Marley, who is from Cyprus. And Rob says, so he hasn't got a clue what Rob is saying, but he is learning. How long do you think it would take him to become bilingual?
No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. It's not language orientated at all. I do a lot of Romanian dogs. I do a lot of Spanish dogs and all the rest of it. And it isn't, it sounds really, it sounds corny, but it is a universal language. Because if you're talking to the dog, it'll pick up the images in your head, and the words that you say are completely irrelevant.
Yeah,
I do a lot of the rescue dogs, and you know, I've been over to Spain and stuff, and I've never had a problem with the language, because it is a universal language. If you forget about the words and think more about the images, you won't have a problem.
Yeah, and that goes back to what you were saying earlier on, doesn't it? It's the images. So even if Rob is chuntering on in English, as long as he's imagining and has got that picture, then Marley will pick up on it.
Yeah, if you say sit in English and you picture the dog sitting down, it isn't going to make a lot of difference to the dog if you say sit or whatever the Spanish is for sit.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
No,
I don't know. Rob said that makes absolute sense.
Mm.
He really is picking up on what he's thinking, which is good, which is really good. What is the most unusual animal that you've communicated with?
Well, it's quite, I suppose, is it unusual? Probably one of the funniest stories was a bearded dragon that we had. Well, I didn't have. I was literally sat at my friend's house. I knew this story would come up. We'd had a drink because she just lived around the corner from me, and she's one of my best friends. And we'd had a bit to drink, and she's got 5 dogs. So, and I know all the dogs, obviously. So there was 4 of us sat there, and like I said, we'd actually had a bit to drink, so I was quite far gone anyway. And I had this really posh voice, just came from nowhere, and it just said, "Excuse me," and I'm just like, "What?" You know. And I'm looking at the dogs, and it's not a dog's voice, you know. And it just went, "Excuse me," and I'm like, "My God, how much have I had to drink?" And I looked up, and their bearded dragon was tapping on its glass. And I was like, "Oh my God, Spike, is that you?" It's called Spike. I said, "Oh my God, Spike, is that you?" And he went, "Yeah." And I said, "What do you want?" And he said, "I'm sorry to bother you." He said, "I was promised a shelf a couple of weeks ago." So I said to my friend's partner who was in the room, "Did you promise Spike a shelf a couple of weeks ago?" He went, "Oh yeah, I did." He said, "I told him I was going to get him a plastic one because he keeps lying under the rocks and getting cold because obviously they're supposed to be the heat." He said, "I forgot all about it." So Spike had said, "Oh, can I have this shelf you promised me?" And it went on from there, because then he said, he said, "Oh, and whilst I've got you," he said, "I was 2 crickets short tonight." And I said to Andrea, I said, "Andrea, how many crickets did he have?" And she was killing herself. She said, "Yeah, they have like a little tube that they run up into, the crickets, and that's how they feed them." And she said, I don't know, she said, "Yeah, he normally has 8 or something, and he only had 6, and she couldn't bother to go and get any more." And it was like, "Oh my God, you're telling me he can count as well now," you know? But we were just, because we'd had a drink as well, you can imagine the conversation. But like his friend's partner, that was a conversation that went on between him and the bearded dragon. He's never told anybody that he was thinking about getting him a shelf. So we were just killing ourselves. And it was, for such a little animal, he threw his voice as being really posh. And then, I thought I'd had, too much to drink or something, because I was thinking, that's not the dogs. I know all the, the dogs, they'll give you a voice if you need it. And this voice was just so posh. And I think that's why we're laughing looking at this bearded dragon. So he's one of the funniest, I think.
Oh, that's brilliant. What about sheep? What do sheep think?
They go around in circles. They really are what they look like. They do tend to go around in circles with what they talk about. So they will repeat themselves, which is exactly what you would think a sheep would do. But they'll know they're a lot smarter than people give them credit for. And they are a lot more individual than people think they are. Goats are fun as well. Goats are really smart.
I'd love to know what goats have to say, to be honest with you. I would.
Pete's got 2 pygmy goats, and they're hysterical. He wouldn't have it. He's a farmer, so you can imagine what farmers are like. And I didn't know how to break it to him that the only way to get these these goats to do anything is to give. They were used to having human biscuits, and until I saw one day he sent me a photograph of something, and he had some rich teas on the seat. I said, "Oh, here are the biscuits for then," and he said, "Oh, yeah," he said, "they're for the goats." Get me in and out. So yeah, he's been converted.
And what about chickens or birds?
Well, there's another story. This was quite a weird one. I got my friend. She used to look after a little farm, like one of the school farms where they have all sorts of animals. And this is where it just all gets a bit freaky, because she said to me, "Can you come and have a look at this duck?" Was it duck or a chicken? It was a duck, that one, I think. Or was it a chicken? It was only a little black thing. I'm trying to think what it was. And, it might have been a duck. And yeah, because it was talking about the chickens. That's right. So she said, "Can you come and have a look and see if there's anything you can do about this duck? It can't walk. It's only a week old." And I'm thinking, what I'm supposed to do talking to a week old duck? And anyway, I picked it up, and there was just so many freaky things happened, because it said to me, bearing in mind I've known my friend for a long time and she knows what I do. So I picked this duck up, and it said to me, "I need what the chickens are eating, and I also need tomato skins." And we're just like, "Okay, why?" And anyway, so Andrea said to me, "Well, that's really weird, because I've just skinned a load of tomatoes for my lasagna." She said, "I actually have at home now tomato skins drying out on the windowsill." And I said, "Well, it's probably picked the image up from you. You must have been thinking about it when you were here, and it's picked it up. And obviously from where the chickens are eating, they're eating like oyster shells and stuff." And so she literally, she's obviously said, "Well, that's easy. I can do that. I can go and get the tomato skins." But we were sat in the car park out, and we Googled what was in what vitamin was in tomato skins, and it was all about bonding joints, to do with helping ligaments and stuff, because I think it was vitamin B10 or something. But we were just sat there going, "Oh God, this is really freaky. How did the duck know that you had tomato skins, and B, how does it know that that's going to help it?" Well, it was due to be put down by the vet a couple of days later, and a week later they couldn't even tell it from all the other ones. So it's just so amazing that they know what they need. And and like I said, we're just sat in the car thinking, that's just weird on so many levels. The fact that you've got tomato skins, the fact it knew you had tomato skins, the fact it knew it needed tomato skins. Where does it just go from here, So it just shows.
When you said it was a duck, I had this I had this vision in my head. I had the sound in my head of Orville talking. It's only a week old, and this squeaky voice. Somebody's asked.
I'll tell you another funny story. You talk about squeaky voices. Same farm, they have guinea pigs, and I used to quite often go and help and shut them away at night. And I grabbed. Andrea said to me, "Oh, can you grab one of the guinea pigs?" And it was so weird. It really freaked me out. When I picked this guinea pig up, it was like it was singing. It was like it was singing to itself, and I just went. It made me jump. And I just went, "Oh my God, you're singing!" And it froze. It literally just went. I thought I'd killed it. It just froze, and I had to give it to Andrea. And I said, "I think I frightened your guinea pig." And I just gave her the guinea pig back, and I just said, "Look, just take the guinea pig." And he's just in shock. But he shocked me, because, like I said, it was like he was singing. It was a really high pitched little thing. And she always said to me after that, she could never pick. He was fine, by the way. But she always said it was really funny, because every time she picked them up after that, she had visions of them singing. But it was like they were just singing away. And I just, oh my God, it made me jump.
That's funny. Singing guinea pigs. Pip Whittingham has asked, "Can you communicate with animals who have died?" She's having a gin before she answers that.
Yeah, they've usually. I try. How do you put that? I try not to. If you usually do with the other animals on the yard. So if you've got a yard, say, with 2 horses on and another horse has recently passed, you'll usually be able to pick up the third horse if his spirit hasn't gone, so to speak. But I don't tend to. There are people that will do them from photos and stuff, and I've never got into that. I've never felt the urge to do it.
You've got your hands full.
You know when they're around.
Yeah.
Having that conversation, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we know that Harry is around.
Mm.
Harry passed away last year, and we know that. But so who else? So Janine asked that as well as Pip. But we do have a communicator who communicates with animals that have passed on. We've got an interview lined up with that with Jan Jackson. So you'll be able to ask more questions about that.
Perfect.
Say that again.
That went lovely into that, didn't it?
It did, didn't it? Well, we're going to come back to you now. So if you've got a load of animals, so you've got cats and dogs in the room at the same time, what do they gossip about?
Pretty much what you think they do. The dogs are treated with it depends how the hierarchy has been brought up. I mean, I can literally I remember I wrote this in my blog actually a couple of months ago. There was I can't remember what the whole story was, but I was awake about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was joining, and obviously the animals didn't know I was awake, and we had 2 dogs and 2 cats in the attic, and it was literally the conversation going on between the cat and the dogs was hysterical. So first of all, my dog has got a habit of he's not supposed to lie on the bed, but because my other half is quite tall, when he lies on his side, my dog knows that he can lie up he can spoon him, so to speak, and I can't see him. So first of all, so he waits till I've gone to sleep, and then he'll spoon Pete so that he's on the bed, but I can't see him, so I don't know he's on the bed. So Jack jumps on the bed, who's the cat. So these are the cats we were talking about earlier. He jumps on the bed and goes, "Oh shit, Woody's there." Woody goes, "Oh, Jack's there." So you end up with this conversation where they're both trying to go, "Oh yeah, I'm not really bothered you're there. I'm not really bothered you're there." And then I joined in the conversation, at which point Woody's like, "Oh shit, I'm not supposed to be up here, am I?" So he so Jack then jumps over to his side of the bed, and Salem goes, "Oh, space on the bed." So he jumps up. Meanwhile, then Jack jumps down, and then Jack wants to go onto Bumble's bed. So Jack, the cat, says to Bumble, "Get off the bed." So but then before you know it, Jack's then on Bumble's bed, and Bumble goes downstairs, and you just end up with this hierarchy thing where the cats are just in this. Bearing in mind that both the dogs have known the cats since they were kittens, the cats have had the hierarchy over them. And they do wind the dogs up. They do like to go, if they know the dogs can't go somewhere or do something, then they will go there just to spite them almost. And it's like, if there's with one of the cats, if you put a new bed down, it doesn't matter who it's for, he always has to make the first smell on it. So it's like, I will mark my territory, even though that's a dog bed, I'm actually going to sleep in it tonight. And he'll sleep in it for about 3 nights on the trot till he's got his smell all over it, and then everybody else is allowed to get into it. And these are 2-year-old cats. So it can be very amusing.
Do you tell them off? Do you actually sort of like, come on, don't get off,
Yeah, I'm quite disciplined with the animals. Woody probably gets away with more than most. The dog, he gets away with more than most. But I don't. And then I taught something funny. I taught the cats how to hang when they were young. I told them that because I can't stand scratchy cats, and I taught them when they were young that if you pick them up, they have to learn to hang. And it's really funny because it means that, like, Pete with his big hands can carry both of them in one hand, and of course they just hang. They literally just hang like that. You've just got these cats hang, but it's really useful because they don't scratch. And Salem, when you know how they pad, cats pad. Yeah. Well, he lies on me sometimes in bed. He'll just come up and he'll talk to you right here, but he pads. So I said to him, I can't let you lie there if you're going to pad. So what he does is he tucks his little paws under. So he comes up and crawls up, and instead of pawing you, he just tucks his paws. There, I've closed my paws like that. Can I stay? It's really sweet. It's really sweet.
And you told us about cats winding a dog up because the cats could see the spirit, but the dog couldn't.
I thought you might bring this up. Yeah, probably one of the weirdest things, I sat in a car after thinking to myself I would get locked up and thrown away the key. I went to see a house where there was a bit of an uproar between the dogs and the cat in the house, and to cut a long story short, there's a ghost in the attic, and apparently the the cats can see and hear the ghost, but the dog can only hear the ghost. So it's like the dogs hear stuff going thump in the night, but obviously the cats can see the ghost, so they can see him coming in. So you've got the spirit in the attic. So I had to break that news to the client, but luckily they already knew because they'd heard it. And because it used, it was quite apparent what he used to do, the noise that they used to hear. They said, "Oh yeah, we did have that. We have been told that." So I thought, well, that's okay. And then it's like, well, what's the fallout between the dog and the cat? And it's like the cats are winding the dog up over the fact that they can see it, and obviously they get out of the way, if you know what I mean. So I spoke to a psychic friend of mine, and she explained that how spirits sit on different levels. So it would be quite normal for one animal to be able to see and hear something and another not necessarily dogs and cats. It can be anything. I've had it in my yard that I used to have, where you would quite often see my horses stood looking across the yard. And there was a spirit in my yard, in my yard, the guy that used to own it, and he loved it there. And he loved it because I used to love the yard, so it was like he used to come and see the horses there and stay there. And the only thing he did that really freaked me out, because like I said, I was fine with that, didn't bother me, but was the towel blew off the stable door when I was literally going out for a ride, and so the horse was tied up further away from it. He wasn't anywhere near it, and I went back. I went to get my hat, came back out, and it was hung up. And I mean, it wasn't like the horse could hang it up; it was miles away. And I just sort of looked at it. I thought, now that's creepy. And I just said to Barney, was that, I can't remember what he was called, John or whatever he was called. I said, was that John? He went, yeah, he was tidying up for you. And I'm just like, okay, that's fine. Don't think too much about that. Don't think too much about that. But the horses used to love him. They used to love having the spirit on there. So
that's right. Jason Morris says he was slightly skeptical of Karen's abilities until she met Bertie. The things he passed on to her that only he, my wife, and I knew were amazing. Cannot fault Karen's ability now. There you go.
I remember him going on about a shelf that he used to sit on, and how that he couldn't do it now. He was really interesting. He was going on about the electricity in this person's body. I think she'd had a stroke. The mum had a stroke, and it was really fascinating that the dog was explaining about how the electricity doesn't work down that arm anymore, and how the dog tries to lie on her arm because he can feel that there's no electricity in it. So he was aware that she had the stroke. It was really interesting.
Amazing. Jason says that Bertie's listening to you now as well.
He's in trouble. He probably thinks he's in trouble again.
He's probably thinking, uh-oh, what's going on here then? Last
time I went down, he was on about this shooter thing, and I couldn't describe what he was doing at. It was like a gun. He just wanted something to. It was a game they used to do, and it turned out it was a gun that fired tennis balls, baby tennis balls, and of course they went and got it. Then it had been in the cupboard for months and months and months, and of course he hadn't been able to play with it. So they went and got it, and he was happy. But I'd never seen one of these before. Quite good.
Debbie Ludgate has said you've spoken to her dogs some years ago, and their voices were very different.
Yeah, has but I had more fun with Debbie with the ghosts in the office, to be honest. We worked together years ago, and we worked in quite a haunted place, and we had great fun with the ghosts in there. But yeah, her dogs, they don't have the voices that you think they do. Don't assume that a big dog has got a deep voice. Don't assume a little dog has got a really posh voice. They can really, because they don't necessarily need to give me a voice. They can do because sometimes it's just like you hear them in your head, but sometimes, like Spike did that time, they'll put on a voice to get you, to help with their communication. So they can have quite different voices.
So what do the horses chat about in the yard then with each other?
Well, mine was quite a good example, because he was on box rest for a while, and he was such a gossip. He would tell you who was late, who was, whose kids were playing up, who hid the balls, who did this, and who set fire to the muck heap, and that he was just a complete gossip. But it can be. It also goes the other way. If you've had something really bad happen on the yard, you can have, you can have one horse pre-warn another. And you know, they do all communicate with each other, and especially like if I go on, it's so much easier for me to go to a yard where I've done one horse, because they'll pre-warn all the others, you know, give them the heads up. So it's all right, she's not a complete bonkers fruitcake, she's quite useful. It's like, quick, freebie, get your words in.
Are you allowed to say what you did at the race course?
No, that's best we don't go into that.
We won't go there then.
No.
But we know.
It'll be messaging
you now. It was brilliant. When your dog has Woody has come up a few weeks ago, didn't he? And he said you better last.
Yeah, I sent him out tonight.
He sent him out tonight. He wanted his dinner last night.
He's gone down the park. He'll be fine.
But he was telling you that the cats had brought a mouse in.
Oh, that was so funny. Yeah, I was working, because I work from home now, and in the day job, and literally I was sat here doing some work, and he crept up the stairs. I've never heard him come up the stairs so quiet, and he just put his head on my lap ever so quietly, and he just said, "You need to come downstairs." And I'm like, "What? What's happened?" And he said, "No, just come downstairs." And basically, he told on Jack. Jack had brought a mouse in. Jack is not allowed to bring mice into the house, but because the back door was open, Jack had seen the opportunity to come in and bring the mouse. So then I'm sat downstairs and I'm thinking, okay, what's going on? And then, like I said, I've got a really thick rug. So this might have been a slightly different occasion, but it just gives you an example of cats. So I'm sat on my really thick rug, and Jack sat there with his paws crossed, and I'm going, "Have you got a mouse in here?" And he's going, "No, nothing here." And you can see he's trying to look away. And literally, so I sat there and I watched him, and I could see where his eyes were going. So I just patted the rug, and this little baby mouse just jumped out, and I caught it. But it was really funny because Jack actually folded his paws as if to go, "No, nothing to see here. Move along." Jack was on about the time he actually bought Woody came up to tell me because Jack had brought a rat in. And of course, as soon as I got down, Jack just ran straight out with the rat. But it was so funny because you could see Woody thought, "My God, Jack's going to give me such a bollocking later when I tell him." Woody was basically just dobbing on Jack. And
have you ever communicated with a mouse or a rat?
Oh yeah, I do quite a few. If people have got problems with rats, but a lot of people have pet rats. They're really smart. When I went to in my day job, which I don't mix the two, I was sat in somebody's house. I was sat in someone's house once. Oh, what was he called? A really posh name. She had a rat. I got in there, and so I'm not there doing the animals. I'm sat there doing my day job, and I got Edward. He was called Edward. That's right. And I noticed the rat's cage was open. And she said, "Are you okay with rodents?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, I'm fine, don't bother me." And she said, "Oh, Edward's out and about." And I just thought, "Oh, who's Edward then?" She said, "Oh, he's a rat." And it was so sweet because he was quite an old rat. I don't know how long rats live. I think it was like 3 or 4. And anyway, he came because all the doors were open. He never ran out into the garden or anything. And she had ladders for him everywhere. So I'm thinking, she's as nuts as I am. And so this little rat has got ladders, and oh, bless him. He came out, and he was quite arthritic and quite old. And he came up, and he literally ran across the top of my shoulder, and he was sat on my neck. So he's just sat here while I'm doing this other meeting with this woman. And she goes, "Oh, that's really unusual." She said, he doesn't normally go and see people and stuff. But he was under my hair. So I had my hair down like this was, and he was under there. And he was literally chatting to me. And it was really funny because I'm trying to have a conversation with him, and he's telling me that he needs salt. And so I just said something about, he's licking my finger. I think he might need salt or something, I think. But he said that he wasn't being able to absorb salt very well. But he was amazing, this little rat. Like I say, it was lovely because, I just didn't know he was going to be there. You get more fun out of them than people sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Annie Roberts. Karen has met our pony Freddie, who loves her and says she is part of our little gang. It has been so helpful having Karen speak to Fred, as it has helped us unravel certain behaviours and understand why he has acted in a certain way. as well as understand why he behaves in a certain way due to his past. Can I ask Karen how some horses are able to reach out and communicate with you without you actually being present with them?
She's talking about Sean. I have horses that I spend a lot of time with. My friend very kindly let me stay with her when I was moving house. I needed like a stopgap of 3 months. So I obviously got to know her horses very well. And I knew them before then, let alone when I was living there. One of her horses is, he's well ahead of his game. He's very smart. And I was literally it must be a month ago or something. I was literally doing my day job, which is mortgages and finance. So I'm sat working figures out, and I'm just sat there minding my own business. And I get a text from Nell saying to me, she said, there's a problem with Sean. And she told me what the problem was. She said, I don't know why he's gone lame or something like that. And I said, okay, she can send me a photo of him and I can connect and do it that way. But I said, I'm in the middle of something. I really can't get out of doing that. And then Sean appeared in my screen where I was doing all my mortgage figures disappeared, and Sean just came up in my face, and he just said, "Oh, just tell her I've twisted it. I did it going down the field. I was messing about, and I've clicked my pelvis. And can you get Rachel to come out and fix it?" And I just texted her straight back and said, "Look, I just spoke to Sean. He said it's this." And that was it, done, dusted. And she went out, got the back woman, and that's what it was. But it was just because I'm quite close to him anyway. He was he literally just came straight down the telephone line, and it was like. But I've had that before. I've had it with horses that I'm quite close to, other people's animals that I'm quite close to. They'll just wake you up in the night and stuff. The cats do it. I can be fast asleep, and then Salem at 3 o'clock in the morning will just tell me he's outside and he wants to come in. And I'm the idiot that wakes up and goes down and lets him in. Okay. So but that's quite funny, because that's not the first time Sean's done it. Is that he's literally come into a dream or he's doing it with his owner now all the time. So at least he's getting his own back.
He's persistent then. You've got your hands full. He's persistent. Karen has a question. When you walk down the street, do you get bombarded with animals talking to you?
No, because like I said, they don't talk. They don't know I can talk to them until I do. So I had a case a couple of months ago. I was walking down the street and this dog was in a lot of pain that I was following. And I spoke to the dog and he stopped and turned around. And he said he'd had arthritis in his pelvis.
Right.
He was really he'd done something, and it's the way he described it, he'd slipped on one leg and sort of jarred himself, and he was quite old. So I just sort of said to the again, you've got to put it into the conversation without people thinking you're nuts. So I just stopped the guy and I said, I had lied through my teeth. I said I used to have a dog with a problem like that. I said it turned out he'd slipped and done his back. I said, do you want the phone number of a back person for a person that does physio on dogs? And he just went, I said, I wondered what he'd done. He'd done it a couple of weeks ago. I said, maybe it's that. And I just gave him this lady's phone number, and hopefully he got her sorted from there. So again, had I not said to the dog, are you okay? Because you look like you're in pain. He wouldn't have started a conversation with me. No.
Are you allowed to mention the water?
Water?
Filtered water?
No. That's work related. I say no.
I have a filtered water jug in my head now.
Yeah.
Now, you see what you've done? I now actually speak and have images in my head now.
See, we're training.
The dogs are going to think I'm crazy. I did have what was else? And you are incredibly busy and popular, quite rightly so, and you've got a huge waiting list.
That's the first thing we asked. So can you come and see our dogs? We want you to talk to Jake. The woman's so busy.
She's so good at what she does. She is so busy. But people can like your Facebook page. You've got a Facebook page, so it's touch to talk to heal. Is that right?
Yeah, I do that on the grounds that I touch. This is a hobby. I don't do it as a day job. That's why I can keep my prices down and stuff. It's just something I do on my day off. So and I do emergencies and stuff when I need to. But it is basically a hobby. So it's like you don't you just don't have to. I couldn't earn enough money at it to do it full time, and B, I quite enjoy my day job and using my brain. So it's you know, I try and do as much as I can, but yeah, there's usually a waiting list of any 50 odd animals somewhere.
And I guess what you do actually helps quite a lot if there's behaviour.
Oh God, well that's what it's all about.
Issues, behaviour problems. There's always a reason why somebody's behaving the way they're behaving, or an animal is.
I'm usually a last resort, which is fine. That's absolutely fine. So where I'm usually like, if you know, you get a phone call from somebody who said, look, I've had 2 vets out, they've done this, they've done that, they don't know what the problem is. Can you just throw a third hat in the ring, so to speak, and just see where that's coming from? That's when it goes to being part of a team. You know, you're like, I have clients that I've had for years and years and years. They'll have back people, they'll have dentists, they'll have vets, they'll have physios, they'll have saddlers, they'll have bit fitters, and it's like you're just part of that team. You know, if you've got a horse that starts throwing its head up in the air and stuff, they'll get the dentist out, check the teeth, they might go and check something else. And then if all the usual routes haven't fixed, you know, which you would normally do, then that you can just go out and throw the horse's perspective on it. And that's where that's where it's great being part of a team, where you've just got, you know, if you've got a yard where there's 12 horses or something, and or even like 3 or 4, and they're trying to get to a main event, or they're just trying to do something and something's gone wrong, you can just, you know, they can just call you and you'll just get there and just say, right, okay, let's find it from the animal's point of view. You know, it's that's when I love it, is when you're part of a team and it's like, right, okay, we've, you know, they know not to call the vets. You know, they have to call the vets first. They have to do everything else. But if there's still something that they just can't get their finger on, right, let's hear it from the horse's mouth, literally.
Well, literally, yeah. Janine Wilkinson has said, Karen came to see my 2 beagles, Alfie and Freddie. And Freddie started randomly attacking Alfie for no apparent reason. At that time, there was no visibility of any cancer, but he told Karen he wasn't attacking he was attacking the cancer and not Alfie. Eventually, a big lump grew on Alfie's side. Amazing that Freddie could detect it. That's amazing.
Animals can detect cancer. They have quite a different smell to them as well. But I think we were talking about this the other day, didn't we? Animals don't fear death the way that humans do. So they, you know, they don't hang on and hang on and hang on. When they're ready to go, you know, they're ready to go. So it's like with something like that, if they know it's coming, sometimes they try and fight it, which is what he was doing. And sometimes, you know, you'll be the last resort. It might have gone, you know, it might be beyond help, sort of thing. And it's just a case of helping them go. But they are amazing. They, you know, people really underestimate what animals can do and smell and everything.
Well, they do, because I mean, that's how Woofstock started, because Harry saved my life, because I didn't know I was ill. Well, I didn't know that the hospital gave me 24 hours to live. I had no idea that I was ill. And he, you know, I'd spoken to the doctors on the phone, I'd spoken to the NHS helpline, and it was literally Harry sitting in front of me, refusing to let me move around the house. That made me go, right, okay. And he was only 18 months old. And it was like, right, I'm going to listen to you. And I listened to him, and I went to the hospital and spent a week in hospital, touch and go. And that's why we created Woofstock, was as a way to celebrate how incredible animals actually are and what they do for us, that a lot of the time we're not aware of.
I went to see a horse. One of the problems we had was I went to see a horse that started attacking its owner, and again, this is lack of communication with the owner and the horse. What had happened, the horse was trying to bite her face, and she was coughing and everything, and I said, are you okay? And she said, what do you mean? I said, he said there's something wrong with you. And she said, yeah, I've actually got throat cancer. She says, I am on treatment for that. I said, have you told him? She went, well, no. I said, well, that's where your problem is. He's trying to tell you. He doesn't know that you're having treatment. He doesn't know that you know about it. So that's why he's actually attacking your throat. He can smell it in your breath, and he is trying to tell you to sort it out. And literally, as the minute I walked out of there, he stopped it. I just said, tell him every time you go for a treatment, because the other thing is if people have chemo, they smell very different. And it can really freak the animals out. So you have to, if you have chemo and stuff, you have to really make sure that the animals know, because it changes their blood or something. It changes how you smell anyway. That's what I get told. So people.
So how would somebody do that then? How, if somebody's going through, they're recovering or they've got a serious illness, and how would you suggest that they actually communicate that to their animal, that they're going through treatment?
They just talk about exactly what's happening and let them pick the images up in their heads. Exactly like we've already said. If I said to you, right, you're going to go to Torbay Hospital today, you're going to go to the whatever ward it is, you're going to be sat there on a drip, we're going to inject you, we're going to do this to you, you're going to go into a treatment, you might go into a big metal machine and everything else. That all the clip and the smells, you'll be able to pick, you'll have the smell of the hospital, won't you?
Yeah.
And stuff like that, they can just pick up on it. So it's just a case of explaining to them where you're going and what you're doing, and then why you have, because this other horse, this is another one, used to get freaked out about the owner having chemo. And she said, why is he so weird? She said, it's only one day a week he goes really weird. I said, it's the day after you have chemo. And she just went, oh God, yeah, it is. I said, your body doesn't smell like it should. And it's freaking the horse out. I remember a little stallion I used to look after. Well, he wasn't little, he was 17.3. A Shire horse that I used to look after. And I had tonsillitis, so I was croaky like I am now. And he kept attacking me. His ears would go back, and he's just like, what's wrong with you? And it's like, your whole picture isn't complete. So your voice, your smell, and your movement, it isn't right. And he couldn't, I don't know whether it was just because he was entire, but he was really struggling with the fact that as long as I didn't open my mouth, it was fine.
So it is literally, it's visualize it while you're talking about it. So if you say orange, an orange, visualize an orange. It is literally the visualization are the key to it. It's not the verbalization, because they don't understand that.
It's the association with it.
It's the association, but it's easier for us as humans to say there's a bottle, because we think there's a bottle in our head, and that's what they pick up on.
A good example of that is I do with a lot of horse owners is that you say would they never know which rug to put on a horse. So you'll have different thicknesses for rugs for horses. And I'll say to them, if to start with, put each rug in your hand and say, do you want the blue one or do you want the red one? I said, eventually you'll be able to narrow it down that you'll just be able to put your hands out and the horse will pick what rug they want. But you have to go with whatever they choose. Even if you don't agree with it, still put it on, because otherwise they lose their confidence in you actually being able to do what they're trying to teach you to do.
Yeah, so it's like Rob Cook has said that his dog Vinny, who's sadly not with us anymore, he was growling at Rob before he knew about the cancer. Once he was diagnosed, Vinny had alerted him to something was wrong. Jason Morris has said as well, Bertie often alerts him to him having hypoglycemia many minutes before. And I know a lot of dogs get trained up to sense things, but it's already there, because Harry was just a regular Springer Spaniel pet dog.
No, it is. It's
already there, isn't it? That they have that they're so sensitive.
And that's why they are trained to do what they do. Drug dogs and everything, aren't they? They're just trained to hone in on one particular thing that they'll get rewarded and they'll get their toy for. So there's so much more they could be used for, without putting themselves in too much risk. But they do have cancer dogs now, dogs that literally they do sort of walk through people and stuff. So as opposed to the drug dog stopping next to you, you'd be terrified, wouldn't you? Please don't stop.
That's the one dog you don't want. That's the one you don't want. No, definitely the drugs dogs. The drugs dogs.
That's one that people always ask me. They say, "Do you ever talk to drug dogs?" I'm like, never. I never. You could just imagine one going, "Oh, hello," and I thought, "Oh God."
You'd taken a right interest on you. You'd be getting searched, wouldn't you? Jan Jackson has actually joined us, who we spoke about earlier on. And she has asked, do you find it easier to talk to your own animals or to get someone else to talk to them?
Depends. Oh no. It depends. It depends what I'm doing. I get far too involved with my own animals. But yet, when I was training to do the healing and everything, my horse, I was always told, don't do it on your own animals. But my horse wasn't having it. He said to me, you have to do me first. I want to be the one that, you know, I started you on this route. You are going to use me. And he was amazing. He was so good. We were going through his body and he was saying, oh, do you remember we did that at Hunter Trial in 1996? And, you know, it was amazing. But I get too emotionally involved with my own animals. Yeah. We lost Salem now wears a tracker because he does tend to disappear. And so he was down in Cornwall and he'd gone missing for, I think it was 3 or 4 days. And I said, right, I'll come down and see if I can find him. And I walked behind the house and I said, he's here, I can feel him. And then I went somewhere else and then I sat and I got 3 images from him. One was stuck in a shed, one was in somebody's conservatory, and one was walking along down a hedge. And I got really, Pete will tell you, I got quite cross because I was cross with him for giving me these images because he wasn't panicking. He wasn't, you know, he wasn't starving, he wasn't thirsty, but he just gave me these 3 images. And I'm like, well, what help is that, you know? And then when he turns up, what had happened, that he had been shut in the shed. He'd been shut in the shed where I was stood for 1 day. Then he'd come home, there was nobody home. So then he'd gone out and he'd been shut. He'd gone into this conservatory, which is where he stays when there's a sunny afternoon, apparently, in this bloke's house. He used to have cats, he doesn't have them now. But he did have food down for a dog or something, I think, because they'd gone away for the weekend and just closed the window as they went. So he'd been fine. He'd been shut in this greenhouse, in this conservatory, but he had food and water and a lovely sunny view, so he wasn't worried. So I went and picked him up from there. And then literally in between from going to the shed, he'd been home, and that's when he'd walked along the hedge. So it's like, that's no help to me whatsoever, you know? All I knew is that he was okay. But yeah,
at least he was trying. At least.
I was just like, but what use is that? You know, you're not telling me you're in a shed. You're telling me you were in a shed.
He was just giving you the full picture. He was just giving you the full, look, Mum, I started off in a shed, and then I walked along this hedge, and then I went to this conservatory, and that's where I am now. Can you come and get me?
Yeah, but it was like I'd walked down. I did come home. I did, but there was nobody here. So I went again. And it's just like, well, you can't argue with that. We don't need the door open, you know. And it's like, well, I did come home. Well, thanks. You left a note or something, or a rat behind, or something to let us know you'd been here.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, it's amazing. But have you ever had a time when you've actually spoke to a dog or horse, whatever, and you've had to tell the owner or the human something that really uncomfortable, and thought, are they going to listen to this?
What, the owner or the animal?
The owners, not the yeah.
I think the funniest ones are the ones where the owner just sits there and goes, what a load of rubbish this is. And then you get a phone call the next going, actually, I thought about that. And actually, he's spot on. I did do that. Or yes, that did happen. Or actually, yes, I've thought about it now. And I had a case a little while ago where I was in a stable with a lady and her mum. And she could tell she thought it was a complete load of rubbish. And she was sat there, just, you could see just from her whole body language. And the horse was going, she's not listening. She's not listening. And I go, I know, but, you know, let's get out what you want to say and all the rest of it. And in the end, the mum came over, who was sat a little while away, and she goes, I've got to butt in here, she said. He's spot on with what he's saying about you doing this and that, because you do that. She said, and I've told you off for doing that. And if you remember, that was such and such a date or whatever. So actually her mum came and justified it for us. Because it's not very fair on the animals if you're not going to play ball. You know, if you take the opportunity to actually go to all the trouble of getting me out, well, what's the point? If you don't want to believe in it, pay somebody else to get out. Don't waste my time, you know.
Yeah, because otherwise, as you say, what is the point?
Yeah.
You could help somebody else.
Yeah,
exactly.
Have you ever had one that's told you to get me out of here?
Several.
Yeah.
and we get them out of there.
And you get them out of there.
Yeah, it's to be honest, it's usually not a surprise to the owners. The owners, it's you know, the owners are usually well aware of the relationship's just not working, and to be honest, it's usually relief, especially with horses and dogs where people are just not getting on. You know, some things. You know, I've seen a horse that I thought was going to kill somebody, and I've actually said to them, "You need to move this horse on." I said, because it will kill you, and I've only ever had to do that once. And I've never felt so much hate from an animal. And she did. She moved it on. She moved it on. And I saw it 2 years later and I didn't even recognize it. It's gone from this wild horse that it was to, I can't remember how old its rider is. It's like 12, 13. And she'd picked him. The horse had picked this girl. This girl went to see another horse, and this one just walked across the field and said, "I'm your new owner. I'm your new horse." And this girl wasn't even looking for a horse like her, and this little mare just looks after her. You've never seen anything like it. And the mare said to me, she said, "You don't recognize me, do you?" And I'm like, "No." And then oh my God, when they told me, I couldn't believe it was the same horse. I really couldn't. So when it's right, my God, is it right?
You must get an enormous sense of satisfaction, because I would imagine nearly 10 times out of 10 you're actually benefiting and helping.
Yeah, I like the really quirky ones where you sort of think, what? So you're telling me it's because Heather won't mind me telling the story. There was a little mare they couldn't put. They go to quite a lot of the big shows, and they couldn't put her earmuffs in because she was funny about who put them in. They put things in their ears to muffle the sound. And she'd been to this mare had been to this show, and she'd seen this other pony had little black like sponge golf ball kind of things, and she wanted those. Now, I've never seen these before, but she showed me what they were, and I explained them. But she said, "But you have to put them in your bra." And she wanted them warmed up, and apparently when Heather's at shows, she puts everything in her bra, so she hasn't got anything in her pockets. But it was the way this little pony said, but she needs to put them in her bra. And I said to Heather, she said, "You got to put it in a bra." And she goes, "Oh yeah." She said, "I put everything in my bra at shows," and it was to warm them up. And she only wanted Heather to put them in because somebody had pulled them out before pulled the other stuff they had out before. Yeah. And Heather never had a problem putting them in. And you just sort of think that's something so trivial. She wanted them warmed up and she wanted a different design. Yeah. And you just sort of think, really, is that all it is? You know, something as trivial as that, and it just makes somebody's life so much easier.
But I suppose the animals have got time to think about it, because unless you come along or somebody like you, I guess it's in their head all the time, because they can't tell it to anybody else. So
I was just thinking, all them stressed animals going, I just wish someone would listen to me. The simplest things to make life better.
I think one of the lovely ones I did recently was that horse that I said I couldn't get into her stable. She was literally throwing herself at me over the door, and I was just like, "Hang on, I need to fill in the paperwork." And then I ended up saying to the owner, "Just forget it. We just got to get on with it." And she was the one that they'd had all sorts of problems with her bitting her and all the rest of it. And she was like, I think she's 12 or something, but it was she literally. What had happened is when she was quite young, she'd smacked her face on the floor. So it wasn't humans or anything like that, but she damaged all the nerves down the side of her face, and she could explain that it was like chewing on tin foil was what it felt like. And once we explained all this, it made a lot more sense, and the bit that she had wasn't going to work because it was and all the rest of it. But I went back and saw her a couple of weeks ago, and my God, you couldn't believe the difference in this mare. She was so quiet, and it was lovely because she had her owner had gone had a special bridle made for her, had a special halter made for her, and the mare was just so happy that somebody had gone to so much effort to try and help her. And then you just get that relationship, that bond between them, where all of a sudden something's just clicked. And that is lovely to see, because all of a sudden it's just like the horse has just gone, "I love this person. I'm going to hang on to this one now. You know, I love this human, whatever." But then that's when you just go, "Oh my God, that's just, that's when it's amazing when you see that kind of relationship develop." When it has been, some of them I see, they're quite obviously quite not very good. And then you get there and it's like, well, hang on a minute, you two are too similar. You get a lot where owners are like their animals.
Right.
And you can get like clash of personalities. And it's actually, they mirror each other all the time. And you actually got it.
Sorry. Jake's trying to blooming communicate with you again, and he's just put his paws on my leg and not me flying. Carry on, sorry.
Yeah, but I was just saying you can get it where you can have too much, a human is too much like their animals, or
Right.
you can, when did I have it the other day? I had it where the owner was bringing the horse down, or we couldn't work out whether it was the owner depressing the horse or whether the horse was depressing the owner. It was like they were both dragging each other down. And you wanted to take them both out and give them both a slap and say, get a grip and get on with it. But it just felt like they were both sucking them each other down instead of, going out and having fun. They were just depressing the hell out of each other. So you can get it like that.
I know. Maggie's gone up and down the stairs twice now. I don't know what's going on in the house at the moment. Maggie's up and down the stairs. Jake's down here squeaking like he did last time and trying to push me off the chair. And Wilson's lying on his back with all four paws up, showing everything to the world, sleeping. So that's what he thinks about it all. I did have another question in my head, but it's gone. Oh, how shocked are animals when they realise that you can communicate with them?
What happens more often is that we'll have a conversation. We have a conversation with them, and then all of a sudden they just go, oh my God, I'm actually talking to you. Because they have that conversation with each other all day, every day, I just butt into the conversation, and sometimes they don't notice. And then all of a sudden they'll just go, oh my God, I'm talking to a human. And that's really funny because they literally just go, oh. And I'm like, yeah, you took a while, didn't you? But yeah, you're talking to me. And that's really funny because they really do a genuine, oh.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. It's been, I don't know where, somebody just said put Jake on the screen, but he's had enough and he's gone. Oh, he's gone to lie down. He's gone for a sleep. He's fed up of waiting to be shown on camera. So, well, I can't, the time flies by talking to you, Karen. It's like nearly an hour and 20 minutes we've been gassing. It's just like you are fascinating, incredible. You really are.
I will do a book one day, I promise.
You need to do a book because it's quite comforting to know that there's somebody out there like you who's actually talking to the animals and helping them.
I think the thing that I miss is when I was doing some training for, believe it or not, I did a diploma in this and I'd finished it in about not very long. And I did some case studies. And one of the things I really learned from that was I asked the owners to do their side of it. And there was a lot that I missed because I didn't realise how important it was to them. So I think if you did a book, I would have to do my take on it, and then you would have to see the owner's take on it, because I was surprised at how different it was. There was things that I didn't think were very important to them, but actually it was actually bigger than what the bits it was like you'd hear afterwards that something had happened and they'd said, oh yeah, well we did do that, and actually that's exactly what happened. I didn't realize I was doing it or something. And you just think, oh my God, I didn't even think of it from that perspective. So I think it's really interesting to hear and when I get, messages back saying, well, I've done such and such with them and this has happened and this, I love that. And you get photos sent through saying, oh my God, like that one the other day about he was moaning about his bed. He had a summer bed instead of a winter bed, and that's why he wasn't lying down in the summer. So he told me exactly what he wanted doing with his bed. And his owner sent me a photo the next day of him fast asleep, spark out in his bed, in his winter bed diverted to summer, And that's
they are funny. They are funny. Rob Cook. So I kind of know the answer to this, Rob. Just stop visualising tennis balls. Rob has another dog as well as Marley, who's just rescued. He's got another Springer Spaniel called Chance, and Chance is ball obsessed. So Rob volunteers at Woofstock each year, and Chance comes along to Woofstock, obviously because it's for dogs. And you can
Everyone's
see
so
various people, and before Rob has said no, Chance will go around and drop a tennis ball at random people's feet. And we'll literally keep going for half an hour, backwards and forwards. Quite simple, Rob. Take the tennis ball away.
Refocus. Woody trades. If he's got a naff toy and we're on a beach, he'll go and find a Labrador that's got a much more interesting toy and swap it. He'll just put it down in front and look at him, waiting for this other dog to see if he'll trade, and then he just comes back with another toy. I'm just like, you can't trade that.
You know, that's funny because Wilson will try and trade Jake's dinner for a toy.
Yeah.
And he will go and get a toy and be all wiggly and wiggling his bum in front of Jake while Jake's eating. And Jake doesn't take a blind bit of notice. Jake's 18 next month. And he'll try and entice him and go, look, would you like this in exchange for all of your food? So they are hilarious. They really, really are hilarious.
And I think the more you watch them, the funnier they get. But the trading is really fun to watch. It's like if you're sat ignoring your dog on a night and they get you one ball, and then it's like, right, okay, you obviously don't want to play with that one. I'll go and get a bigger one, or I'll go and get a different one. And before you realise it, you've got like half a dozen toys, and it's just a case of, right, well, you don't want to play with that one. Okay, let's go and get a different one. Will you play with this one? You know, and it's like, well, where's your level, Mum? Where will you actually give up and play with the ball? So yeah, they are funny.
It makes such sense.
It does. Rob would like to clarify, it doesn't have to be a ball. She will pick up a feather and drop it at your feet to play fetch. She'll pick up anything. Well, you've just got to keep doing that, Rob.
You've got to find something that's higher priority that they're going to trade with. A different with spaniels. If we've got I work with quite a few hypo spaniels, and with them you need to switch their senses. So like if you've got a dog that's really active on like with visual with tennis balls, it means it's not using its brain enough. So then you would go to sniff toys. So I would get them to do maybe 10 minutes in the garden of just hiding bits of chicken and building it up to 6 bits, and just spaniels really need to use their noses. So if they're using their eyes, they're not using their noses. They're supposed to be sniffer dogs. So it's a case of you need to change the game.
Yeah, it's kind of what we do with our dogs in the house. We will shut the door. We'll hide treats.
Yeah,
everywhere in the house, and it really targets.
That really focuses them to destroy furniture as well. So be careful inside the house.
Right, you will listening.
Otherwise they'll start knocking things off, looking for things. Have to be a little bit careful.
Wilson knocks things off with his tail anyway. He has absolutely zero control over his backside at all. Jake was squeaking again and staring at me.
So don't do that with any puppies, guys. What we've just said, put treats all over the house. Do it in the garden.
Yeah, don't take any notice of what we say. We're not experts in anything else. I don't know. Emma wants to see Jake. Hang on a minute.
Oh, Emma.
If you'll let me bring him over.
Yeah. Emma's got a thing about Jake. Sorry, Karen. She met him years ago, so she's got this thing. Oh. There you go. He's there. Are you happy now, Emma? I don't know. She said it's getting crazy now.
Right.
We're going to let you go, but not that we want to, because basically we could chat to you forever. You are honestly
in dog slobber over my face now.
Oh, nice.
Not unusual. Not unusual.
Thank you so much, Karen. It's been absolutely brilliant, and maybe at some stage we'll do it again in the future if you'll allow us to do it again, because I think lots more people would love to listen to your stories of what you do. People say, what a really interesting interview, insight into all animals and how they communicate. Massive thank you to Karen Corbett. Everyone's sending their thanks. Yeah, we paid her. It was Woody, actually.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
It's been so interesting. Thank you, Karen. Awesome lady, people are saying as well. See, it is, isn't it? We're writing, we've got it all written down. We'll be fine. Thank you. We'll pop you backstage to have a quick chat with you.
Okay.
Once we've finished going live, we'll just say goodbye to everyone. Hang on a second. So we told you all it was going to be amazing.
Yeah,
didn't we?
It's really cool. Yeah.
Wow. Absolutely. I could listen to Karen literally all night talking about these things and the stories and what the animals say. It's absolutely brilliant. We promise, we will get Karen back on and do another interview with her. So watch out for that and pass it on to your friends, because they're going to want to.
Yeah,
because you're going to be talking about an interview that you saw with this animal communicator, and all your friends are going to think that you're nuts. And you can say to them, no, you literally want to see and listen to this lady talk.
So just remember, when you speak to your animals, they know what you're saying. Visualize. And we don't feel so stupid anymore, because I've been talking to animals, not that they've been listening to me for years, since I was kids, and now I don't feel so stupid. So, yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Perfect. Next interview, we haven't got a date yet, but we will put it up when we have got a date, and we're hoping it's going to be with Jan Jackson, who communicates with animals that are no longer here. And we know that what Jan says is true, because Jan has communicated with our Harold over the past couple of weeks ago and has told us stuff that I have said to Harry that I have never told another living soul on this planet. So watch out for that. So watch out for the date for that. For now, thank you for joining us on a Wednesday evening. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will catch up with you all very soon. So bye for now.
Bye.